Hello, welcome. So today we're in r/best of Redditor updates again. This is probably the second in a row, but I promise, of course, it's never boring. This one does come with some trigger warnings that I'm going to warn you about off the bat for car accident, body injuries, medical neglect, graphic descriptions of pelvic and spinal injuries, depression, trauma, mental health struggles, and the mood spoilers is dark but eventually hopeful. I'm giving you that now to give you a chance to decide whether you want to stay or not, because obviously this one has got some heavier topics today. Anyway, other than that, if it does sound like something that would interest you, then please do stick around and enjoy. I feel like these kind of videos, these kind of stories are quite educational in a way of like teaching us what to do in similar situations. So I do feel like they're quite helpful to read, to be honest. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe as well, of course. Make sure you do, or I will hide under your bed. I'll be a creepy little shadow. I mean, I am kind of a creepy little shadow anyway, to be honest with you. Constantly, never dress in anything but black. Don't leave the house. Just sort of mope around. Yeah, I'm basically a creepy little shadow, aren't I? I always say I would love to be a vampire, but I'd be a terrible one because I don't like blood. Okay, so this one, it was posted in Best of Redditor Updates by Choice Evidence 1983. So the title says, "My fiance made a split-second decision that has cost me a year of my life and I'm furious." And again, of course, bearing in mind the trigger warnings and the mood spoiler at the start of this, if you don't think that you can cope with listening to stuff like that, that is fine. I will have other ones for you to listen to. Don't feel bad if you have to skip out on this one. So this was originally posted April 4th, 2025. I, 26F, my fiance, 30M, and his son, 5-year-old, were out getting Chipotle on March 14th. On the way home, we reached a busy intersection with a blinking yellow light. My husband was driving and I can tell he was about to go. I saw a car coming fast and very clearly told him to wait until the light was green. I don't know if he didn't hear me, didn't take me seriously, or just ignored me, but he kept driving forward anyway. And we got T-boned by a car going 50 miles per hour. Oh my goodness. Everyone else walked away fine, including his son, thank God, but I was crushed. Oh my goodness. I ended up with 2 full breaks in my pelvis, 2 fractures in my tailbone, fractures in my L4 and L5 vertebrae. Are they the ones in the middle of your back? Am I wrong there? Or are they? No, they're lower down, aren't they? And a fractured sternum. I was, and still am, in so much pain I can't even explain it. I wouldn't wish this kind of pain on anyone. I was rushed to the ER where everything was a complete blur except the trauma. I started having intense flashbacks, panic attacks, and nightmares about the crash and the pain. I had to undergo surgery where 2 7-inch steel screws were inserted into my pelvis. Oh my, that sounds just excruciating. At the hospital, they gave me a back brace that was way too big for me. The nurses and PTs even admitted they didn't measure and just guessed my size. Even when we told them it was too big, they didn't do anything about it. And despite this, they expected me to stand up and move around wearing it. The brace did nothing for support. Moving in it felt like my spine and pelvis were being ripped apart. The pain I was in trying to follow their orders to stand and walk was inhumane. All I remembered from those days is pain, frustration, fear, and this overwhelming sense of helplessness. After about a week, I was transferred to a physical rehabilitation centre. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to bathe. I didn't want to move. I was so depressed and in so much pain that even thinking about shifting in bed made me cry. I had to depend on strangers for the most basic things, going to the bathroom, bathing, even feeding myself. God, yeah, I can imagine that that's just so dehumanizing, especially when they are not listening to you either. So it's not even like you're having to rely on these people, but they're doing their best for you, so you can trust them. I imagine there was no trust there between you and your healthcare providers, and trust goes a hell of a long way in making people feel better about what is already a very crappy situation. Like, just imagine having to have someone wash your downstairs for you and wipe it after the toilet. Imagine how embarrassing that is. As someone who's always been independent, it was utterly humiliating and devastating. I'm home now, but my recovery is far from over. Doctors and physical therapists all told me the same thing. You have the second worst kind of break anyone can experience. You'll need at least a year to recover, if not longer. You can't put weight on your right leg for 3 months, no bending, no twisting, and even after 3 months, it'll be a very slow process. And that's the part that's eating me alive, because before this, I was really getting my life together. I was working on my health, I was eating right, doing CrossFit regularly, getting stronger, and finally meeting people and socializing. I had just got back to college. I was finally building structure into my life after being recently diagnosed with ADHD. And now, it's all on hold. I can't work out, I can't leave the house unless it's for a doctor's appointment, I can't do anything by myself, and it feels like I lost everything I was working so hard to build. I really feel for OP. I can't even imagine the frustration. And again, to top it off, the healthcare providers that are supposed to be looking after you are just not doing as well as they should be. It's got to be just horrendous. And even though my fiance has been supportive through all of this and is helping take care of me, I am so angry at him. I told him, I warned him, I said, don't go, wait. And when I asked why he kept going, he just said, I don't know. Pathetic. And that I don't know is now costing me an entire year of my life, maybe more. And I'm the one who's paying for it every single day. So yeah, I just needed to get this off my chest. I feel trapped in my own body. I feel like I'm grieving the life I could have had this year. I feel angry, sad, helpless, and I'm just trying to make sense of it all. But mostly, I just want my life back. I know this is temporary. I know I'll eventually recover, but losing a year of my life, my sense of normalcy, and my peace of mind is really, really tough. If anyone has any advice on how I can work on this, or maybe even share their own experiences similar to this one, I'd greatly appreciate it. TLDR, my fiance ran a blinking yellow light after I told him to wait and we got T-boned. Everyone else walked away, but I ended up with multiple fractures in my spine, tailbone and sternum, as well as 2 full breaks in my pelvis. I had to undergo surgery, wear a brace that didn't even fit, and was forced to move through unbearable pain. I've lost my independence, my ability to walk, and a year or more of progress I had worked so hard for. I am so angry, grieving the life I was building, and just trying to get through it day by day. Honestly, I think if I would give any advice, like I say, going by having to look after people that were not able to look after themselves in very intimate ways, first and foremost, I would ask a nurse that you can trust, probably, if there is any kind of mental health therapy, counselling that they can provide, someone that can come to you and provide that. Failing that, maybe even ask your husband or maybe a family member if you're really not feeling very trusting of your husband at the moment, which I would 100% understand. He did not need to go. He should have waited. What an idiot. And I know he will feel really bad. And I've got no words for that, really. I can't feel bad for him feeling terrible because look at what this has done to OP. This is why people need to be more careful on the road, because it is not their own lives quite often that they ruin. It's other people by not being careful enough. Anyway, going on a tangent, what I would say is ask them to look into that therapy for you. Ask a family member to look into it for you if they don't provide it from the hospital, that you can maybe do on a Zoom call, just so you can get some feelings out to someone who isn't involved in the situation. You can't get your feelings out to the crappy nurses because they obviously wouldn't listen anyway. They gave you a flaming back brace that didn't even fit, you know. Hopefully now you have some better healthcare providers. Hopefully, if you've moved into a different facility or something, you've got someone better now. But even so, if you're not feeling very trustworthy of your healthcare providers, which I would fully understand with your experience so far, have your family look into it for you instead. I do think it would really help having someone impartial to talk to. And also, I would also say for anyone that would be going through something like this, don't feel embarrassed. Do not feel embarrassed. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel that people are looking at you with pity. They are there. That is their job, to look after you. They have seen a million situations similar to yours, with high care needs and, very intimate care needs. They are not judging you for it. They are not pitying you for it. If anything, they're probably looking at you thinking, bloody hell, this woman is hella strong, to be going through this and keeping together the way they are. Like, because you might not feel like you are, but the fact that you're still putting effort into your physio, you're still, reaching out to people on Reddit to try and talk to people, you're doing really well, because anyone could completely understand you falling completely into despair. But you're still trying to fight for yourself, even if it's not in ways that you're recognizing. You're still putting in that as much as effort as you can to fight for yourself mentally and what have you. And you might not see it that way, but that's what it is. Anyway, relevant comments. Was everyone in the car wearing seatbelts? OP says, yes, everyone was wearing a seatbelt. I'm going to assume that the car that team-bowed them hit on her side. One boxer mum says, that would be a deal breaker for me. Honestly, same. I'm very anxious in cars anyway. I think if a partner didn't listen to me, and then it ended in an accident, a crash, I don't think I could continue with the relationship. The trust would be gone. And then the woman S says, I have a permanent spinal injury. I can move and walk just fine on the good days, but on the bad days, I need crutches and just to go to the loo. I am so sorry to say this, but this is not just a year. This is a lifetime injury now that you are going to have to deal with. You know what got me through mine? What keeps me going? Knowing that I can trust people around me, good days or bad. Please seriously think about if 5 or 10 years down the line, you will be able to trust your fiance. Or is this the distrust and anger, which you have every right to feel, going to fester inside you and make those bad days 100 times worse when you see him? Now, this is the most important part. You will get through this. I absolutely believe that. I remember the day I accepted that I was going to get through it because I was able to walk down to the tattoo shop near me, stand in line for 4 hours, and get a Friday the 13th tattoo to celebrate just being able to walk. You have a long road ahead of you, sister. Just know you aren't alone. Give me a shout out if you want to vent, with a little heart emoji. And that's really sweet. And yeah, I mean, even after recovery, I think people with spinal injuries, it's never fully the end of it. You're going to have days when you're just feeling terrible. My mum's fiance has a really bad spine, and he apparently gets these flare-ups randomly when it feels awful. But then, that's not all the time, and you will have days when you're feeling great again. It will come. And then Vegetable COD 2340 says, OP, you should start seeing a therapist, maybe over Zoom at first, and discuss this. Yeah, exactly. Maybe start journaling as well. Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a good idea. You should definitely talk with someone about this anger you have towards your fiance, and you may want to do couples counselling. I agree with Boxer Mum, I'd be done, because that was really reckless move that could have killed everyone. And his response of, I don't know, doesn't cut it for me. Yeah, I think that would infuriate me the most. Him just being like looking pathetic and being like, I don't know why I did it. Like, you need to have a better answer for why I am now laid up in bed with a broken spine, pal. And then there was an update in the comments, April 4th, 2025, same day, 7 hours later. Update, I honestly didn't expect my post to receive this much attention. I was just venting my thoughts and emotions in the moment as I'm still going through the stages of grief. Thank you to everyone who took the time to share their thoughts, advice, and support regarding my situation. I want to clear up a few things and provide some additional context, including my fiance's perspective on why he didn't stop. To start, for those wondering about where the accident happened, since the rules around blinking yellow lights vary, it took place in Texas, within the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's all I'll share location-wise for privacy reasons. Don't go looking up for articles, by the way, everybody reading this, or everybody listening to this. I know you probably won't, but just don't. Let the OP have privacy. Next, a lot of people have asked whether my fiancé has shown remorse and how he's been supporting me since the accident. The answer is yes, he's been devastated, as he should. He has apologised to me multiple times at the crash site, in the hospital, during rehab, and at home. He's also been having panic attacks himself as of lately, something that he's never experienced prior to the accident. There was one moment where he called me panicking because he couldn't find his truck keys and desperately wanted to come and see me to make sure I'm doing okay. My mum had to drive over to calm him down and help. Okay, pause. Okay, so obviously, we've dogged on the OP's fiance, a little bit here because obviously he did do something absolutely reckless that was a shitty thing to do that caused his fiance then to be hospitalized with a broken back. And I do think that deserves a certain amount of what the F man is wrong with you. However, I do also think that people can sometimes, in the split second, make a decision which really is really stupid and it should never have happened. But everyone has moments where they do something where they just don't think. Unfortunately, this instance of this just don't think turned into something absolutely catastrophic. However, everybody has done it. We've all done it. We've all had a moment where we've done something so friggin' stupid that could have turned out so bad, and it didn't. You know, before now, I'm not gonna lie, I once checked the road, saw a friggin' car coming, stepped out anyway. Why did I do it? I don't know. I had time to jump back when I come to my senses. But do you know what I mean? Like, things happen, and I do hope that OP's fiancé is getting the support that they are going to need, because this is going to eat them alive. You know, as much as I do think that they need to feel that guilt to stop this ever happening again, I also think that they didn't do it with malice and shouldn't have to suffer forever. I do, however, understand if OP left them because the trust would be gone, and I would totally get that too. It's a crappy situation all around, isn't it, really? He also continued to visit me frequently in the hospital and at the rehab centre, and he's been advocating for me when I had issues, such as the back brace I was given, which was clearly too large. Side note, despite multiple people from my family, fiancé, and even the PTs mentioning it, the hospital staff didn't replace it. I'm not surprised. It wasn't until I called the hospital a week later, frustrated that they finally took action, I had to put on my Karen voice and explain that their failure to properly size the brace was actively hindering my recovery. Eventually, I got a new one in a smaller size. Fun fact, the braces only come in 2 sizes. What? You're joking, that's bad. Small, medium, and large XL. I'll let you guys guess which one they gave me. That's so bad that they only come in 2 sizes. What? My fiancé has also been helping me understand the insurance claim process. From what we know, I may be looking at around $100,000. Additionally, at home, he's made sure I have what I need to recover. He's just brought me a $300 bed frame that moves up and down similarly to the hospital beds I was used to because I can't move up and down as normally without feeling pain or being at risk of re-breaking something. He's also been cooking for me and for my visiting family, helping me clean up, assisting with daily tasks, and has made it clear he doesn't expect me to lift a finger and only wants me to focus on healing. He's even told me he's going to halt his plans on expanding his side business so that he can spend more time tending to me during recovery. With this said, I've seen a lot of comments saying I should leave him or even sue him, calling him arrogant or careless. I understand those reactions, but looking back, I would have to admit that this was an honest mistake that anyone could make at any time of day, at any point of time. A bad mistake? Yes. But nonetheless, a simple human error at the end of the day. I'm just angry that it happened to me, but this is something I will have to work through on my own. Yeah, I think with the knee-jerk reaction, it is to say, OP's fiancé, you're a massive thunder twunt. What the hell were you thinking, you flaming idiot. This is all your fault. But realistically, again, like I said before, us humans are very flawed little biological machines. We make mistakes, and the most stupid mistakes all the time. And a lot of the time, they're stupid mistakes that don't cause anything too bad to happen. But sometimes those same stupid mistakes and just malfunctions in our little pea brains unfortunately do cause something really bad to happen. And it doesn't mean that it was ever done with malice. It's just human error fucking up at the wrong time. And I do think that, we shouldn't hold it against OP's fiance as harshly as originally the knee-jerk reaction would be to do. And my goodness, I know you can't make up for causing someone a broken spine, but actions speak so much louder than words, and this guy is groveling through his actions for forgiveness. And you gotta condone him for that one. He's putting in the work. Back to the post. With the "I don't know" reply that he had given me a week earlier, I will admit that may have been still experiencing shock or trauma, and his mind seemed to have been drawing a blank when I had asked him, because I asked him the same question again today. Yeah, my really knee-jerk reaction was to say that's pathetic when he says "I don't know," but actually thinking about it, yeah, he's probably pretty traumatized and just drawing a total blank. Why didn't you stop when I told you to? He told me he thought the gap between us and the oncoming car was big enough to make it. He didn't realise how close it actually was. He also said he didn't hear me say stop until it was too late, at which point we were already hit. I told him I said it much earlier, and he admitted he just didn't hear me. He feels horrible. He's told me that every time he approaches a yellow light while driving now, he reminds himself of what happened and how stupid he feels for not being more careful that night. I'm not excusing what happened, it's very traumatic, but I do believe he's learnt from it and taking accountability for everything as best he can. I'm just the angry, bitter one that is needing to work through my emotions and grief that I'm experiencing because of the accident. And you're valid to feel that way. Absolutely valid to feel that way. That said, I've resumed individual therapy, weekly now instead of monthly, and I had my first session since the accident as of yesterday, and my fiance and I will be attending couples counselling together. Yes, I plan on staying with him. I am glad, to be fair. At first I said I'd have to leave him, but again, listening to OP speak a bit more and go through the actual ins and outs of what has happened since, I can see that this is a guy who didn't do it because he was being arrogant. He did it because he just had a little bit of a glitch, a human glitch. And unfortunately it ended like this, and he feels so bad. I know a lot of you are coming from a place of concern and care, and I truly appreciate that. At the same time, I want to gently remind everyone that I'm a real person going through a very real and painful experience. What I shared was raw and vulnerable, not a call to be judged or attacked. It's okay to disagree with how I'm choosing to move forward, but please remember, I'm the one living this, day by day. Healing both physically and emotionally isn't linear, and I'm doing the best I can. Thank you again for the overwhelming response. I'm reading as many comments as I can, even if I can't reply to everyone. Please continue to take care of yourself and those you love. Hold anyone you care about closely to you, because when you least expect it, life can change in an instant. Relevant comments, commenter, not here to pass judgment on you or your fiance, but wanted to ask one question I don't think I've seen. How has his son been since the accident? Obviously physically unharmed, but has anything changed you've observed with him, seeing you undergo all this pain and rehab, or possibly seeing his dad suffer the panic attacks? Yeah, I mean, because obviously we were so caught up with how awful OP's injuries were, I didn't think of that myself either. That's quite bad. Hope all is well with you and your family, sending nothing but positive vibes. OP says, his son has only seen me at the wreck and hasn't seen me since. Not at the hospital, not at the rehab centre, and not back at home. He lives with his mother. He asked if I'm okay, and I did get to speak on the phone with him briefly. For him personally, He had one nightmare and was worried about me for a few days in the first few days post-wreck. But since then, my understanding is that he's back to his bubbly self and is enjoying the extra attention from friends and family as they're giving him surprise gifts and taking him out to his favourite restaurant. Yeah, to be fair, he's only 5, so he's probably going to forget. When my eldest last year was rushed into emergency surgery, my youngest was pretty scared at first, asking me if they were going to die and things like that. And but very quickly it was forgotten. Very quickly. Like, kids that age are, luckily, if they don't actually see the things and what have you, they're quite distractible. Then down in the comments, Albanian Artie, just an incredibly sad situation. And then no, I'm not reading that. You nearly had me then. Yeah, holy F. Surely not yielding to a flashing light properly is silly, but all of the people saying to leave him and sue him have to be heartless. Obviously, from the perspective of the furious victim of a car crash that she tried to prevent, the cause of the crash is going to be portrayed in a heated way. Yeah, I know I don't think people saying leave him are heartless from the first post, because I certainly felt that way a little bit too. Because at first, as you're hearing the absolutely awful things that the OP is going through and hearing that he just decided not to listen, and when you immediately think, oh, he just thought he knew better, because you're so riled up. And even though none of us know the OP, it's quite normal, a human, to feel very protective over someone who is, hurting. So the knee-jerk reaction is going to be like, leave him, what an awful guy. But then obviously I hope that everyone who then listened to the updates would then go, do you know what? No, he made a mistake and he feels terrible and he's trying his best to make up for it. And then Manacle Shen says, edited to add, apparently the fiancé was turning. I was confused because the poster literally said of her fiancé, but he kept driving forward anyway. Well, I'm assuming it means like when you kind of have to drive forward to turn into a lane, to get to your lane. To be able to turn, like at a T-junction. That's what I was imagining. And mentioned no turns or arrows, but it looks like he was in the left turn lane when folks going straight had a green light, looking at a blinking yellow arrow, and he misjudged when to go. Completely his fault, and though I'm not impressed with the other driver either, sounds like the traffic was way too fast to be taking those chances. This story is confusing to me as a Marylander. Blinking yellow means you have the right of way if you're going straight. The cross section always has a blinking red that are supposed to treat as a stop sign. Blinking yellows pretty much only occur at fire station intersections that go too quiet to justify proper light cycles at night. So to me, this reads like she should sue the life out of whoever she saw careening at a blinking red at 50 mph. No legal fault to the fiancé. But in Texas, blinking yellow means yield, ? Okay, so in the UK, just to add in a little bit of I don't know, just a little bit of facts for you about blinking lights. So the yellow is, we call it the amber, and the amber kind of basically means get ready to go or get ready to stop. So if you see an amber and you're coming towards it and it's just turned amber, most people will just continue to drive through, because it's a warning to give you time to stop before the other light turns green. So if it's only just turned amber, a lot of people continue because they know that the other light has not yet turned green, if that makes sense. So yeah, I suppose it's just different in a lot of places, isn't it? And on that note, we're going to leave it there for today. If you have made it all the way to the end, I appreciate you very much. I hope we've learnt some valuable lessons here today about road safety. If nothing else, I do actually think that it's quite an important takeaway of, if you are not sure, do not go. Don't speed either if you're someone coming towards a junction either and your light is on green. Still don't speed, slow down a bit, because someone might not quite be paying attention and come at you sideways, literally. So yeah, other than that, if you'd like to pop a little like and subscribe to find your way back here again for when I post more videos, then please do feel free to do that. I hope you have a really good rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing. Perhaps go and watch something very cheerful now. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, Have a good day and goodbye.